So one of the things that's super important, I guess, in terms of what we do is to actually affect behaviour change with people in terms of getting them to develop the habit of storytelling, right? We've seen this over and over, haven't we, Mike? There's no sense in anyone coming along to just a 1 hour presentation on storytelling, apart from maybe just giving them a little bit of interest in it, but it's not going to change anything. So we've been focused a lot on how do you actually change behaviour. And one of the great initiatives you've been really kicking off and leading is this idea of story competitions. Perhaps you can fill our viewers in on some of the things we're doing there.
Sure. Well, the behaviour that we're trying to change with salespeople is to try to get them to stop asserting things about their products and solutions, telling their clients how great everything is, and instead use examples. And stories, of course, are examples. So talk in a concrete way that the buyer can understand, and that's the reason to use stories, not technical, not jargon, not abstract. So when we started the online version, the virtual version of the Story Powered Sales program back in, because we had to.
Back that's in, right. God.
April last year.
I
was initially just replicating the face-to-face training course, and we typically did a little mini competition at the end of a day of training, and salespeople are quite competitive and they like that, so they get into the idea of telling stories in a team. But when I realised that we could do it like a couple of weeks after the training and give them a chance to practice and coach each other and teach them how to coach each other, we had a virtual competition in teams. So you have a teams, usually 3 people, and they will use stories to pitch a live example, a real opportunity, and tell different types of stories in a competition. And the remarkable thing that happened there was that they're forced to practice. They're forced.
I do like that. One of the things that helps in that is that you get along senior people in the organisation. So this, when you say forced to practice, there's a little bit of what would you say, a little bit at risk.
There is.
When they do this.
There is. So we invite observers.
Yes.
We invite senior observers to come and see it. And the first time I did this, which was for an Australian company back in April 2020, the CEO was actually part of it. He was in one of the teams.
He was
himself.
Participant.
He was a participant.
Right.
And he stopped us halfway through and said, "Mike, I just want to say I've already got the return on investment for my training. I've never heard my guys talking like this about our products and services. It's just amazing."
Wow.
So
interesting.
Having the observer there to see what's happening in the training, but also to spur the teams on to really put the effort in to change the way they speak.
Now tell me, there was one instance that I remember really illustrates that whole issue of the penny dropping for people.
Yes.
On certain things we're trying to teach, and I'm thinking of the moments.
Yes.
Tell people what happened with that.
Okay, so we coach, through the course, we coach everyone on their story, and we basically provide a graph of their story, what they're saying, and we'll graph in 3 lines. And if they're not telling a story, that's kind of assertion, opinion, that's like the top line. And then they dip down and start talking about an event, so we'll graph that and we'll put a little circle and say that's the event. But if they start talking about a specific moment in time where it's described, or conversation is a great thing for moment, like I just said with this, the CEO said, "I've got my return on investment." We can imagine ourselves there. That's a moment. So we provide the graph. And when we do the story competition, we graph the whole competition in real time. So you can see in real time, if you're observing, you can see in real time when a story starts, when a moment is.
Yes.
And Hans, the guy from one of the big corporations we're working with, he said afterwards, that's the first time I've actually realised what a moment is, because I've seen in real time, I'm listening to the story and I can see it happening.
Yes.
And that's the feedback to go, okay, that's how we do it.
And I think this comes back to just that importance of giving people a different perspective so that they can see it actually happening and having that experience themselves. They're part of the experience. And it's all to do with noticing. Sometimes things just fly past you without you noticing at all. You sort of have to have some mechanism, and that graph, that real-time graph, really helps people notice those things.
Yes, yes.
Well, that's just one of the little things. What we'll do is we'll talk about some of the other sort of initiatives we're doing to help people embed behaviour change, getting them to develop the habit of storytelling. And we'll leave that to our next session, hey?
Sounds good.
Good.